Bye, Bears. The Bears are who we thought they were. That's why we took the damn field. Now, if you want to crown them, then crown their ass. Bears. Stafford down the middle is intercepted. DJ Moore. Overthrows and intercepted for DJ Moore. Will I see again? Cleveland throws and it's intercepted by DJ Moore. Pushing up the hill, searching for the thrill of it. Takes the snap from his own end zone, winds up, throws into traffic. It is deflected, picked up by DJ Moore. Moore to 10, 5, end zone. Touchdown! Touchdown Bears! DJ Moore, pick 6.
You are tuned in to the Chris and DJ Show with former Chicago Bears nickelback DJ Moore.
That's right. Welcome back to another episode of the Chris and DJ Show. Bringing things back. Started last week in case you guys missed it. DJ, another rough start to the Bears, at least for this show. Again, bringing it back last week, DJ. Things start off nicely for the Bears this season, 5-1. Since then, they've dropped their last 3. The latest loss coming against the Tennessee Titans. They go down 24-17. The Bears didn't score until the late in the fourth quarter. I mean, you look at the scoreboard, you look at some of the statistics, and you might think, hey, you know what? It was a pretty decent game. Nick Foles, had himself over 300 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. But the game was a lot uglier than the statistics made it seem. This game was not close. The Tennessee Titans really, from the start of the game to finish, really had their way with the Chicago Bears in this one. They go down 24-17. And, this is another one of those games where a lot of eyes are looking towards Matt Nagy and the offensive side of the football. The defense, yet again, they do their job. They only allow 17 points. One of the touchdowns for the Tennessee Titans came on a fumble recovery for a score by newcomer Desmond King, formerly of the Chargers. His first game as a Titan, he gets a 50 or so yard fumble recovery for a score. 24-17, DJ, the Bears go down. They drop 3 in a row. And I think it was former Washington Redskins head coach, somebody in the Bears media brought this up, Joe Gibbs. He used to say, you lose 2 in a row, it's a disaster. You lose 3 in a row, somebody has to get fired. That hasn't happened yet with the Chicago Bears organization just yet this season. But, things are not looking great here in the Windy City, DJ.
Well, when you look at the game, and I can equate it to what I'm teaching in science for my science kids. All right. We're talking about, weather, and then we're talking about climate. All right. So when he first came into the league, it was really good weather. All right. The sun was out. It's like, oh, he's the new young kid on the block. You know what I mean? The leaves haven't changed colors or anything. And now it's just like, everybody is catching on to the pattern. All right. Like, I know what type of climate, what type of play calling you have. So therefore, I know what to expect. So when I go outside and then the Chicago and the wind is out, I'm gonna need to put that bubble jacket on, man. You know what I mean? Like, everybody understands what his offense is. I thought we talked about it before a while back. Was the same way with the guy before this. Was like, well, your first year, really good, you break records, people are open, and when people get a wind of you, all right, what happens then? Can you adjust? And to me, it hasn't been much adjusting. I had to go back and look, and it's like the first year was maybe 5 games over 30 points. Last year, maybe it was 2. This year's only been 1, and it's right at 30. So you on pace to really have 2 seasons where you only have over 30 points. Even struggling teams seem like they get over 30 points because you have such up-tempo offense and you have so many times that you can actually, have the ball to try to score. So the heat is because last year I think it wasn't on him as much as Mitch Trubisky, and they kind of laid that blame to him. But there's no other shoulders for him to put it on now though. So it's something has to give.
Yeah, DJ. I mean, the numbers aren't pretty. They pretty much they stand still as to where they were last week. 29th, 30th in the league in a lot of these rankings, and in some of these statistics, I mean, they're only behind the New York Jets, who have yet to win a football game. They're 0-8, losing to the Patriots last night on Monday Night Football. And you mentioned it. A lot of the blame last year seemed to be on Mitch Trubisky. They go out in the offseason. They trade a 4th-round pick for Nick Foles. He restructures his contract, and now he's the starting quarterback after they went to him in the game against the Atlanta Falcons. A lot of people thought that it couldn't get any worse than Mitchell Trubisky. Now there's a lot of people asking, should they go back to now with Nick Foles struggling the last few games, should they go back to Mitchell Trubisky? Is he the better option for this offense? Not only because, maybe he has more familiarity with Matt Nagy than Nick Foles does, but with the injuries specifically to the offensive line, and we know Nick Foles is a statue back there behind the line of scrimmage. At least Mitch Trubisky kind of gives you that option where, if things break down, he could make a play with his feet. Now, of course, 2 weeks ago against the New Orleans Saints, he gets in on one play and he hurts his shoulder. He's out last week against Tennessee Titans. So whether or not that, proposition could even become true or not, that remains to be seen. The shoulder injury doesn't seem to be too serious. He doesn't need surgery. He did miss last game. I'm not exactly sure what his status would be for Monday night, but I don't think that's really much of a reality, seeing Mitchell Trubisky get in against the Minnesota Vikings just yet. But with how bad Nick Foles looked and has looked the last couple of games, again, you look at his stat sheet and you think, hey, he had a pretty good game. 36 completions, 335 yards, 2 touchdowns. He spread the ball out to a number of different targets. It looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, about 8 or 9 guys against the Tennessee Titans. But it was an ugly game. The Titans defense did a great job, as most defenses do against this Chicago Bears offense, DJ. Is it realistic to think that Mitchell Trubisky could be a better option for this Bears offense right now?
Yes. And I think you said it. It's about, like, I have the legs to run. I think when Trubisky was really good and he had his Pro Bowl year and everybody was pegging him to be the next great quarterback, it was because he did both. He had almost about 500 yards, a little bit over 500 yards rushing, and then he had, over 3,000 yards passing. He hasn't did that since. So it just gives you another option. To me, he's safer as well. Now I know Foles didn't throw a pick for the first time in a while, but again, the fumbles were from other players. But again, he takes more risk, but again, he will just throw it up there. And for me, with Trubisky, he won't take as much as a risk. So therefore, your defense, you'll have a chance at the end of the game. So I think now again with Trubisky, if there's a team that he seemed like he's comfortable playing against, especially just watching them last year, both games, like, he played pretty good both of those games, I believe. So, I mean, if there's one team for some odd reason that he seems to play okay against, it is Minnesota. But I think you have to start thinking about it especially as Ryan Pace, as a general manager. You think, like, I drafted him. You know what? They're both struggling. You know what? Here it is. I'm going to give you a chance to save your career. Nick Foles don't really care. He's probably going to either retire or somebody else will pick him up randomly as he's on his way to go home and golf and shoot basketball or something like that. You know what I mean? So, because he's won his Super Bowl. So, again, when you're even thinking about Trubisky, it's, 17, 18, 19, 20, what is his 4th year? You know what I mean? So, it's like he's really young. And then in college, he only played started one season, played about 8, 9, 10 games. So he's still young, and I think he still can figure it out. But again, I think he's been just destroyed, like mentally or whatever. So now I think if he comes back in, really, I think the pressure was lifted because it's just like, okay, you took me out. It happened. Now it's like, you know what? You're playing with house money. You don't like me, so hey, just go out there and just play.
Yeah, I feel like Nagy might be a little bit too stubborn though to go back to Mitch Trubisky because Nick Foles, all season long, the topic was, finally. I mean, I think everybody knew this day was coming where Mitchell Trubisky would eventually get benched and Nick Foles would get his opportunity to be the starter. Now here we are, 5, 6 games into the Nick Foles Bears experiment, and many are already calling for Mitchell Trubisky to go back under center. But I think when it comes to Matt Nagy, though, he had experience with Nick Foles in the past, dating back to their Philadelphia days. This was kind of his, hey, all right, we'll give Trubisky one last chance, but eventually we're going to go to my guy, a guy that knows the system, a guy that I know can work this offense. I'm not even sure Matt Nagy himself knows what his offense really entails. I mean, seriously, because it's one of the more pathetic offenses that I've seen here watching the Chicago Bears. And there's been a lot of pathetic offenses in Bears history, DJ, but the performances that we've seen specifically this last few, especially when you're losing football games, when you're finding ways to win at the end of games and you walk away with the W, it makes it easier to mask things. Now you're losing games in this ugly fashion. I'm not too sure Nagy would really ever go back to Mitch Trubisky if it were his choice.
Yeah, well, I think what's easier for Nagy now is that because when you play in Chicago and you've been to the games, there's no fans there, correct?
Correct.
And when the fans are there, they'll boo you. And if Nick Foles is playing bad and they boo loud enough, it'll kind of move you emotionally to like do things you wouldn't do. But now it's just like, you only get to hear it in the locker room when you hear it, we talk about it or, everybody in Chicago talk about it. But it's hard, man, when you out there struggling and you going in at halftime and they throw them boo birds out there and you like, you know what, we got to make something happen. We got to jazz the crowd up. We got to turn momentum. Like, how can we do that? But I think at this particular time, I think for Nagy, it just like it makes sense. It's like if you do go back, like, you know what, I'm trying. Let me figure something. Let me try to figure something out because my offensive line, like you said, is bad. I mean, every time you said hike, it seemed like the Titans was in the back. I mean, in Nick Foles' lap.
And then the Titans don't have a great.
They try to run. It looked nasty.
Yeah, and they were without their best pass rusher, Jadeveon Clowney, or he's supposed to be their best pass rusher. He's yet to record a sack this season, but they were without some of their guys as well.
Yeah, and even in like the secondary, so everybody's going through the COVID thing. I remember they having an outbreak, and because when I made the prediction, it's just in my head, it's like, you know what? NFC, no, we kind of like the SEC, and the Titans are kind of like the ACC minus Clemson. You know what I mean? It's just like, you know what? This should be a breeze.
The Titans were kind of like the Vanderbilt of the SEC, is what you're trying to say.
No, not that far down. You know what I mean? Not that far. That's far. That's like that's got to be a guarantee. That's like the Jets kind of. We really struggle. But you're just thinking like, okay. But they're playing the game in a sense of where it's like you don't have an offense at all, so we'll just hand it off and make a couple passes, and if we score one touchdown, we'll be fine as long as your defense doesn't score. You know what I mean? So it's just like you can't be able to do that, man, in the NFL. I don't think you should be able to. Where it's like, man, I ain't got to score, but 24 points to win a game. Like nowadays, when you get a pass interference for everything, holding first down for everything, they're making it easier for you. So, again, Mr. Trubisky, I think at some point he will, but I don't know. Again, like you said, I think he is a little bit stubborn.
Right, and it seems like this could be the last go around for this head coach, for this coaching staff, for even the general manager Ryan Pace and some of the moves that he's made. I mean, we'll see. It's still a little too early to say that. They are 5-4. After they start 5-1, a lot of people were thinking, "Oh, there's no doubt that this team gets into the playoffs," especially with the new the new playoff seeding, where the NFL added one more playoff team to each conference. So, but now at 5-4, it looks like it might be a little tougher than we've all thought. Now, DJ, again, I've already pointed out quite a few times, Nick Foles on paper looks like it was great game. It was not. He did target 8 or 9 receivers out there. I mean, even Riley Ridley stepped in for Javon Wims, and he made a really clutch third down conversion for got it right here. He had two receptions for 23 yards. I think the third down on third down,
like 3rd and 16 or 17 or something like that.
What's that?
It was like 3rd and 16 or 17. It was something like
that. I think he ended up going for 19, 20 yards on that reception. So it was nice to see him go out there and get the opportunity to make a big play. You got Jimmy Graham, 6 receptions, 55 yards, a touchdown there in the late in the game. You got Cordell Patterson, 4 receptions. Anthony Miller, another decent game out of him, minus the fumble there in the fourth quarter. 5 receptions, 59 yards. I'm going through these names. You got the rookie 5th-round draft pick, Darnell Mooney, with another solid showing, 5 receptions. He ended up no, he did not find the end zone. That was the game before that. Ryan Nall, backup running back, had to come in for David Montgomery, who is in concussion protocol. And he ended up having 4 receptions, a touchdown as well. I'm rattling off all these names, DJ. I'm still scratching my head, though. I'm wondering, where the hell is Cole Kmet at, the rookie 2nd-round draft pick out of Notre Dame, their first draft pick this season? Not only did he not have a reception, he didn't have a single target on this game. I don't even really recall seeing him on the field too often. More times than not, though, this season, you do see him on the field, and they use him more as a blocker. But seeing Jimmy Graham out there, he has 5 touchdowns on the season. That's great. He only had 5 touchdowns in his 2 years as a Green Bay Packer total. So for him to have 5 touchdowns in 9 games, awesome. I think a lot of people expected him to be brought in here and used mainly just as a goal line target, and he's done that fascinatingly well. But how about Cole Kmet? I mean, this is more of an athletic tight end. He seems to be more of the, I hate to even throw the name out there, but he seems to be in the mold of like a Travis Kelce, one of these, George Kittle, one of the really athletic.
Greg Olsen.
Greg Olsen, exactly. Probably the last Bears great tight end. He seems to be in that mold. And for especially now when things aren't really going your way, you're looking for guys to step up. Why isn't the rookie getting his name called? Could it be is he in the coach's doghouse? I don't know. I mean, they rave about him so much, especially prior to the year starting in training camp. Where the hell is Cole Kmet at, DJ?
I think he just in an unfortunate spot behind Jimmy Graham. I think he is a good kid. I don't think he's better than Jimmy Graham. I think potentially he's going to reach that level. But again, I think in the NFL, I got to be able to trust you. So I think they just trust Jimmy Graham more. So I know when he gets down in the end zone, is he going to catch the one-on-one pass? Yes, he is. He's shown that. I think at some point, they have to make a commitment to say, hey, listen, we drafted you, here you go. But again, they're making a commitment to Jimmy Graham because, hey, we signed you not for a little bit of money either. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, okay, you got a little bit of change. So therefore, you're the most expensive player, and you so happen to also be performing. Now, again, what's going to have to happen is you're going to have an offensive coordinator that's smart enough to use them both, all right, to where you having a double tight or a max protect and have them chipping and getting out in the routes and doing different things because you need that because you don't have offensive line to block. So you might have to max protect a little bit and mix some stuff in. So it's interesting, but I think it's just one of those rookie things where it's you're really good, but you got to wait your time, or you got to wait until somebody get injured, and then once you go out there, they be like, "Yeah, I knew he was awesome the whole time," and you'll see that happen a lot. Where it's just like it's just not your time, but it will be. And I'm sure he's frustrated. I'm sure that the coaches are looking at him and like, "Hey, listen, be patient." Like, no, man. Like, give me my stuff. Like, this is my stuff, man. So, I mean, I think he's fine. It's just learning the ropes, and but I was excited when I know when he got into the end zone, and it's always exciting, especially to get your first one. But again, like when you draft guys that high, you want to see that. You want to see, like, I want to see that, like, you drafted guys that actually supposed to play. When you draft that high, you need to play. But again, when you sign Jimmy Graham, it's like, well, when you pay guys a little bit of change, you're gonna need to play too.
Right. And they also acquired Demetrius Harris, former Chiefs tight end, again, familiar with Matt Nagy from their days in Kansas City together. And at times it seems like Demetrius Harris is getting more go than Cole Kmet as well. And Kmet, he's certainly flashed, but like you said, and you can kind of look at the situation that Darnell Mooney has been in. I mean, Anthony Miller, really rough start to the season. Next man up, Darnell Mooney gets his opportunity and he kind of flashes. So, I mean, a lot of people would say that Mooney might be the Bears' number 2 wide receiver and not so much Anthony Miller, although Miller, pretty strong performance the last couple of games. Again, really ugly fumble, though. It was that classic peanut punch that of course, Charles Tillman is famous for in Tennessee. So that was pretty that was kind of disheartening to see, especially with Anthony Miller having what looked to be a pretty solid showing for 2 games in a row there this past Sunday against Tennessee. All right, DJ, this was a former topic I meant to bring up last week. We can still get to it this week, though, because it still stands true. I mean, could there be a rift brewing between the struggling offense and the stout defense? Again, the defense only allowed 17 points last week. I mean, if your defense gives up 17 points on a weekly basis, that should fare pretty well for you. I mean, and I'm not saying they're only averaging 17 points given up to the opponent, but they are doing a great job. They're certainly a top 10 defense. I wouldn't say they're a top 5. They do have a lot of opportunities, a lot of dropped interceptions. Roquan Smith, Kyle Fuller, last week in overtime against the New Orleans Saints. Kyle Fuller had another one against Tennessee, and that's kind of been his MO. I mean, he's got a fair share of interceptions throughout his career as well. But I mean, if he's caught if he's caught the interceptions that were there for him that he's dropped, I mean, that guy would have a Hall of Fame career. But anyways, DJ, you've been on Bears teams with struggling offenses and very good defenses.
Mm-hmm.
Was there ever any rifts? Was there any hard feelings from one side of the ball to the other when that other side is struggling?
I don't think it showed. While you was out on the field, I think you can feel it. I think coaches would always, especially tell the defense, like if you want to win, if you don't let them score, and if you score, all right, the percentages go up like 95 to 96, 97, 98% when the defense scores a touchdown. So once the Titans score a touchdown on defense, like, uh-oh, I mean, it's going to be hard to come back from that. So again, when you talk about Fuller, even though you're playing good defense, I'm gonna need you to, if you jump in this out route with 2 hands on the ball, I'm gonna need you to run down the sideline with that. Like, I need you to do that, and that's what I'll be saying in the defensive meeting room. Like, well, listen, if we losing 27-17, I had the fun, but I had to score. If we would have scored, the score would be tied. Things may have went a different way. All right. Now again, I'm sure there's frustration, but most of the time it's not going to spill over where you can kind of see it on the sideline. But I mean, I think with us, it was more so, I guess Cutler didn't seem like he cared at times, where it was just it would rub you the wrong way. And for the most part, I mean, when Trubisky or Foles, or they do something wrong, or Miller, you can tell like they care. And if I know you, I mean, you trying your best, I'm not gonna sit there and be like, "Hey, man, you can do better than that," because I know it's at times, I'm gonna make a mistake, and I'm gonna need you to back me up or go get a touchdown or a field goal to win the game when I made a mistake, to back me up. So I think they're fine, but again, I think you can have it sometimes where, again, behind closed doors with the coaches, where it's like, everybody's a little bit frustrated because it's like, hey man, I got these cats out here humming, and you over there, you supposed to be the guru, baby.
Yeah, right.
Come on now.
DJ, I love whenever Jay Cutler's name is mentioned on the podcast. If he was the quarterback of this Bears team, they'd probably be legit Super Bowl contenders.
No. just one word. Well, it ain't that. He's a good football player, but again, we would start 7-1. Our defenses wasn't no different. We had all the same type of defensive players, from safeties to defensive line to linebackers. But guess what? You be at 7-1, and all of a sudden you're 8-8. You're 81. All of a sudden you're at 8-8. Like you have a really good, like a number one ranked defense, number one ranked offense. And then all of a sudden, man, the laws of average say one of y'all got to do something, and it was the offense always meow meow meow. So,
do you ever look back to that? I think it was 2011 season when you guys did start 7-1, and he went down against the Chargers with the broken thumb. I mean, you guys really seem to be on a roll, both offensively and defensively.
Well, it seemed like every year was kind of that way, though. Like it was just like, oh man, you're on a roll, and then no. I think the first year he got there too. What was the first year he got there? I think, or maybe the second. And then he came over from Denver, had a couple good games, jumped in the end zone, and then he got paid, and then all of a sudden it's like, meow. And so it's like that every single year. So again, you still just looked at what you did on defense. Like, how can we not let them score? Even though it's just like, man, we scored, we did this, we did that, and you still throwing picks. You know what? Hey, listen, y'all job, just go get the ball back.
Not to mention Hester probably returned a kick or two.
And when you know what you needed. I mean, if to be honest with you, that's kind of what we need now. Like you have Tariq Cohen who's out. He would be that guy that would kind of get that spark going. So if you kick it to me, I can't run it back. I can play defense, but I can't get, a touchdown off of it. And then the offense is not doing anything. Like there's something needs to spark something, and I don't know where that spark is gonna come from.
Yeah, well, luckily it's not your job to figure that out, DJ. That's Matt Nagy's, and and I'm not sure if he's ever going to figure it out or not. But this Monday night against the Minnesota Vikings would be a great day to figure that out. A great game to figure that out quickly. Looking at what the defense did against Tennessee Titans, heading into this game, Titans running back Derrick Henry led the league in rushing. They fed him 21 times. He only had 68 yards, averaged 3 yards per carry. So, I think that was the main focus for the Bears defense, rightfully so, was to slow down Derrick Henry, and they did exactly that. He really couldn't get anything going against the Bears Sunday. But wide receiver A.J. Brown, 4 receptions, 101 yards, and a touchdown. He actually had the touchdown play was phenomenal. It was a long play and actually dragged Buster Screen for a few yards and extended for the touchdown. That was kind of the play of the game, if you will, for the Tennessee Titans. And from there, they just ran away with it. That was the first touchdown of the game. And they ended up winning 24-17, DJ. Now, moving forward, Monday night, they're playing the Chicago Bears. They host the Minnesota Vikings. Vikings are coming off of a 2-game winning streak. They beat the Green Bay Packers a couple weeks ago. Dalvin Cook, his first game back from a hamstring injury. He has 4 touchdowns in that game. And then this past week, he has another 2 touchdowns while running for his first ever 200-yard rushing game against the Detroit Lions. 2 crucial wins for the Minnesota Vikings, and they both come in the NFC North division. Now they're playing their third in a row NFC North opponent. It's kind of the same story though. You got now Dalvin Cook after his performance last week. He now leads the NFL in rushing yards with 858 to go along with 12 touchdowns. He has a receiving touchdown as well, 13 total touchdowns. Now the Bears kind of have to focus on Dalvin Cook. I mean, if I'm the Bears, I'm not letting Dalvin Cook beat me in this game. I'm going to have Kirk Cousins have to earn his money and show us what he has. They still have some lethal weapons on the outside, and Adam Thielen, rookie wide receiver Justin Jefferson, has gotten off to a nice start to his career as well. He's had a couple of really big games. I think one, he went for over 160 yards a few weeks back. I'm not letting Dalvin Cook beat me in this game, DJ. And I'll be damned if Kirk Cousins goes out there and beats this Bears defense. If anything, if the Bears lose this game, it's probably going to be on the offensive side of the football once again.
Well, yeah. Well, I think the initial thing that you do is you want to stop the run no matter what. If the running back is good or is bad. Not even talking about Dalvin Cook, we're talking about, our offense is like, well, what's really wrong? Probably the running game. You know what I mean? So, again, I think last year was the same way where I think Dalvin Cook was maybe the leading league rusher or whatever. But for some odd reason, I think we have Minnesota's number. And then Minnesota has Green Bay's number, and everybody has Detroit's number. You know what I mean? So, I'm confident in it. But again, Minnesota is one of those teams where they'll play really good against Seattle and then they might lose against the Jets or another. You know what I mean? Just like they really up and down, or they'll have one of those heart-to-heart with Kirk Cousins. And for some odd reason, the heart-to-hearts work for him. Right? Oh, what happened? Kirk, man, you need to do something. He come out and play a little bit better. Now, when we do it, it don't work that way. So we need to have a heart-to-heart and kind of figure it out. But again, this is a playoff game. Like if you're telling me that we have 5-4, and then we go to 5-5. Now again, you can rattle off, a lot of wins, 7, 8 in a row or whatever. Kind of thing. We made the playoffs in 2018. It was somewhere like that where you rattled off like 6 or 7 wins in a row. But again, when you have a struggling offense, it's just going to be hard to do it. So I think you have to win this game, even though we got the extra game for the playoff team. To me, to keep hope alive, I think you have to win this game. It's in the division game, so I think you got to win it. But I don't know what's going to happen.
And of course, after this game, they head into their bye week. You don't want to head into the bye week with a loss. You'd rather go into that with a win, so you don't got to soak in disappointment and defeat for the this is only going to be their they got one game in the next 17 days, I think it is. So you certainly want to win that game there against the Minnesota Vikings Monday Night Football. DJ, you added the running game. David Montgomery goes down. He's in concussion protocol. We'll see. A couple of weeks ago, Allen Robinson was in concussion protocol all week long. He ended up passing whatever tests that they gave him, and he was able to play. That doesn't really seem to be, the ordinary thing though in the NFL. If you're in concussion protocol, I think more than likely you're probably going to miss at least a game. But we'll see. But Ryan Nall was able to step up a little bit. He was able to catch a few passes out of the backfield, including one that went for a touchdown in garbage time. Barkevious Mingo, the linebacker, defensive end, former number 1 overall pick of the Cleveland Browns years ago, more of a special teams player now with the Bears, DJ. He had the Bears' longest run against the Tennessee Titans on Sunday, and that was on a fake punt play. It went for 11 yards. He was actually the fastest ball carrier for the Chicago Bears. Somehow the next gen stats had him at a little over 20 miles per hour on that 11-yard run. So hopefully, hey, you know what? Worst comes to worst, line him up in the backfield, see what he can do at running back, because right now the Bears do not have many bodies there at running back. Obviously, we know Nagy loves Cordell Patterson. Maybe he'll get a heavy dose against the Minnesota Vikings, his former team, on Monday night. maybe we'll see more Ryan Nall. They do have Lamar Miller on the practice squad, though, DJ. He had a nasty knee injury last season. He's a former Pro Bowler, though, back in 2018 with the Houston Texans. Also a former draft pick of the Miami Dolphins. So we'll see. We'll see if maybe they bring him up, they elevate him. They got a former undrafted free agent as well, Artavis Pierce from Oregon State. So we might just see a little bit of musical chairs for the Bears backfield on Monday night.
For me, honestly though, and if he could do it, to me it would be I would leave Cordell Patterson back there, all right? Because I'm assuming he knows the run game in and out. Because he's always in the backfield. And if you don't like the matchup, just send them out wide, go empty, and have them adjust to it. Like, well, if you leave your linebacker in, you know what? I'll split them out. There's a mismatch. If you leave your cornerback in, if you go man, I'll put them in the backfield. There's one less heavy hitter, on the defensive side. I can hand them off the ball or have doing. There's a lot that you can do with it. But again, normally when you put them in the backfield, you're gonna. It seems like you're either handing it to them or faking it to them or handing it to somebody 100% of the time. It seems to be a run. You know what I mean? So now, just change it up. Just try something new. And for me, I would leave him back there. He can run, and we know that. So if you give him a little bit of block or you can just mix it up, and I'll be excited to see. And I think what happens sometimes when you get injuries, it forces you to kind of think differently. Because even with Montgomery, and I'm gonna be honest with you, like he just average. You know what I mean? And
I think that's fair to say. I think that's fair to say. I might even say he might be a little below average, and that's not his own doing. But
the thing what I liked about Tariq Cohen is like, even though like when he gets the ball, you're just excited. You know what I mean? He got a different twitch to him and a different speed. And when this offense was going really good, you would see Tariq Cohen, somebody wheel route out the backfield, doing this, doing that. So, yeah, he just, you know what I mean? He's just okay. And that's not okay for this offensive line. But this is one of those offensive lines where you need like Barry Sanders. You know what I mean?
It's not okay, especially when the coaching staff and the general manager that they're selling you on what they saw on his college film and how he could be so great, how he's very special, this and that. Again, not that this is any of his fault.
He is good though. But I'm just saying for the purpose of this team, because I think he is better out of the backfield and catching and doing a whole lot of stuff. But we're asking you to essentially get the ball and run with no block. It's just not going. I mean, you know what I mean? Like you're not that type of back. And it's not many that are like that.
Right.
But yeah, that's tough, man. That's a tough cookie there, man. You trying to get me to do all that.
Right. And to your point about Tariq Cohen, when you see him with the ball in his hand, I said this his rookie year. I think Tariq Cohen was the first player on the Bears since Devin Hester where whenever he got the ball, you always, and not to say he's on Hester's level, but whenever he has the ball, you always think there's that chance that he could, make a couple moves and take it to the house. I think before they drafted Cohen, I think the last player that they had like that was the great Devin Hester. And certainly now more than ever, they seem to be missing Tariq Cohen's presence because this offense is hurting. They are ranked. I got the numbers right here. Again, not too much different than last week, DJ. They average just over 19 points a game. That's 29th in the NFL. Just over 317 yards per game. That's 29th in the NFL. I mean, like you said, you bring in this head coach and you market him as a offensive guru, and this is going to be the guy that brings Mitch to that next level and this offense to that next level. And this is the offense is going to complement the defense so well, and we're going to have a winning team, and things are going to be great. I haven't seen any of that the last year and a half now here, DJ. I mean, 2018 was sunshine and flowers, but again, you could only look back to that season for so long. And maybe we should give more credit to Vic Fangio and what that defense was able to do that season, because it was really unheralded. It was something you don't see very often. I mean, I think they had 6 defensive touchdowns, 36 takeaways on defense. It was a magical season for the defense. And unfortunately, Matt Nagy was able to get a lot of that credit, coach of the year that year. You've seen what his offense was able to do in the biggest game for the Chicago Bears in what, 10 years or whatever it was, 8 years, their first playoff game. So unfortunately, things seem to be going sour, if you couldn't tell, DJ, with Matt Nagy. But anyways, I mean, there's still time for him to turn it around. They're 5-4. Yes, they dropped the last 3 games. Yes, none of these games have been pretty. Even any of the 5 victories, you pointed them out, none have been in very great fashion. But they're 5-4. They got a big game Monday Night Football against a division opponent in the Minnesota Vikings, and then they go on their bye, and then the real part of the schedule really starts to open up again with the new playoff seedings. You get another team added. Anything can happen. But right now, it's pretty uneasy here in the Windy City, DJ, and the Bears fans are really hoping that this team can come out Monday night and maybe prove some people wrong. I'm not exactly sure what the line is right now, but the Minnesota Vikings, one of the more hot teams in the NFL, at least the last couple of weeks, although they are still 3-5, they seem to be one of those dangerous losing teams up to this point. They got a proven head coach in Mike Zimmer. We'll see what their offense could do, though. Again, very hot. Dalvin Cook, 200 yards, and their last game against the Detroit Lions, 4 touchdowns against the Green Bay Packers a couple games ago. Should be an interesting matchup Monday Night Football. Before we end the show, DJ, any final predictions? I mean, we're still days away. We're 6 days away from the game. A lot can change. Obviously, we don't know who might be strapping up for the Bears or for the Vikings, for that matter. I mean, it seems like players every day are coming down with this coronavirus disease. And, just today we see Big Ben go on the list. He did test negative, but he's on the COVID list. So you never know what's going to happen. So again, these predictions could change depending on who may be in or out. But what's your prediction for Monday night, DJ?
That Matt Nagy is not going to give up the play calling Monday night, Sunday night, Tuesday night. When he ain't gonna give it up. So they got it. You know what? In my heart of hearts, I'm thinking to myself, like, he has to figure it out. Is Monday gonna be that night? Probably not. I went on a limb last week, and I think that Minnesota defense is a little better than the Titans, and and they have momentum. So yeah, I don't see them getting the offense together, to be honest with you. So you know what? Hopefully I'm wrong, because I went opposite last time. So you know what? They won't get it together. All right, they won't get it together.
I think a lot of it does have to do with Nagy's play calling. Don't get me wrong, but like in a game like last week against Tennessee Titans, not to make any excuses because every team is dealing with this, but they're on like 2 third-string offensive linemen. They got Rashad Coward out there, a former college defensive lineman, making the transition to offensive line. He was getting abused, and so you got a couple rookie 7th-round picks out there. You got Charles Leno, who the last year and a half just has not been playing very good football at all. And they tied him up to a 5-year contract a couple years ago. So again, not to make any excuses, but I'm not exactly sure what I expected Matt Nagy's game plan to be against Tennessee with all the missing pieces, all the injuries. With that said, I certainly think it should have been better than what they threw out there. Again, they didn't even get on the scoreboard until late in the 4th quarter. What's up?
Well, my thing is this, like, you a guru, though. You know what I mean? Like, they're pegging
you, though.
They're pegging you. When they peg you as a guru, it's like, you know what? Like, I got to make it happen. All right. Now, again, I'm a coach. And if we have injuries, who's supposed to help me fill that? It's the GM, all right? So if you hurt, that should be the next man up. The level shouldn't drop off that much because we did our homework and you're here and you're on this roster, because if you started at like 90 and you got down to here, we should have somebody to back the next person up. Now, again, if I'm switching somebody from offense to defense, why is Nick Foles dropping and you running deep routes when you know good and well he's not skilled enough to – the O-line is not skilled enough to block guys that long. Like, why am I not speeding up? Why am I not allowing them to short set, where it's like a 3-step drop, where it's just like, hike, you ain't got to block long, just get your hands on them. We're going to get them out quick for you, maybe do some double moves. But we for sure ain't doing no 5-step drop routes. You know what? We'll do that anyway. Like, I just got over here. Are you going to throw the whole playbook at me? Like, make it simple. Nick Foles won a Super Bowl by making it simple. He went literally back to the offense he did at Arizona. It was like zone read, slant, zone read, slant, zone read, slant and go. Like, it's really that simple. I mean, you can throw it inside or you can throw it outside. So for Nagy, he just has to make it simple. And that's why, I mean, it's hard for him because he's not going to give up the play calling. Because if he gives up the play calling, it's like him giving up coaching, essentially. Because I was given this opportunity to do the play call. Now, if you was an older guy, and we've seen older guys that'll do it, veteran coaches will give it up, and eventually they'll get it back. But you ain't a veteran coach.
Well, remember Andy Reid a couple years ago when Nagy was the offense coordinator there in Kansas City. He gave up the play calling to Matt Nagy the last 6 games of the regular season and that playoff game against Tennessee where the offense was just awful, and they lost that playoff game against the Tennessee Titans. But like you said, I mean, if Nagy gives up his play calling, he's essentially waving the white flag because what was he brought here to do? He was brought here to turn this offense around. He was brought here to bring stability and bring excitement to this offense and bring winning to this offense and to this football team. So I see your point there. You know, DJ, well, I lied to you. One last thing. Report just came out right before we got on the show. I mean, I don't know if it's really a report, but Chris Emma from 670 The Score, CBS Radio here in Chicago, he's saying that the Bears and Allen Robinson, they ended their contract talks or they postponed their contract talks after week 2 or week 3 in the season. And Allen Robinson was talking yesterday, and he said that, after the first couple of weeks into the season, he kind of put that behind him, focus on the season, focus on playing, and he'll get, he'll refocus on that after the season. You know, we talk so much. I mean, the last couple shows, DJ, and most of these shows the last year and a half have been all about the struggles on the offensive side of the football. But week in and week out, there's one consistent part to the offensive side of the football, and that's Allen Robinson, who, certainly in my eyes, an all-pro wide receiver, one of the better wide receivers, a legit number 1 wide receiver in the NFL. And Ryan Pace and company with the Chicago Bears, they're somehow having a hard time figuring out why they should extend this wide receiver. Again, the only bright spot, the only consistently bright spot to this offensive side of the football. I mean, how does that translate to the locker room? I mean, Tariq Cohen signed the contract, days before, or maybe a week before tearing his ACL. But when other players in the locker room see that that's how they treat probably the best player on the offensive side of the football, I won't even say probably, definitely the best player on the offensive side of the football. I mean, could that stir anything up?
No, I think especially with money-wise, you kind of stay out of people's business. You know what I mean? You want people to get paid when they do get paid. You cheer for them when they hold out. It's like, is it whatever? But when you come back, you're just part of the team. But I would say this, and I think he's a really good player, but if I pay you, what does that do for me? Like, what does that do for the team? And you can equate it to Dallas and them paying their receiver. Cooper.
Yeah, Amari Cooper.
You're still losing. So if I'm paying you and we're losing.
But you could argue that Cooper brought Dak Prescott to another level, you could argue.
No. He was already at that level. Like, because the thing with people realize is like he started at a level so high, then people kind of got down on him, but he's always been really good. Like his level was so high because if it wasn't for a Dez Bryant stretch the ball, he might have been even above that level. So he was already at the level because Dez Prescott didn't only like take over the team, he like told Tony Romo, you can go do this other stuff. Like I'm so good that I'm gonna make you leave your job and concede. Like concede, not like now, like the Trump thing. Like Tony Romo was like, you know what? I'm good. Like he's good, and I'm gone. Like it was literally like that. Like he had to give an impromptu retirement speech because how good Prescott was. But again, like even that, like I would take Prescott. Like you got to figure out. I'm not going to pay the receiver because for some odd reason, you can get one in college every year. You can get a star receiver in the draft or not in the draft every single year. It's just what it is. The rules are made for it. They're big. They're fast. You can find one.
I'm not sure the Bears could, though, man. It seems like they always have to go for free agency.
Huh?
No, I said I'm not sure the Bears could find a wide receiver in college. Though it seems like they're free agency.
They just come up. They just sprout up.
Right.
It's like grass. Like when the rain grows, receivers are coming. It's harder to find DB because you have more. They're putting more of the guys on off because it's all about scoring points. Again, if you put them in a good situation and let them run free, they're going to be open. I forgot I was about to say that. But again, what do you need? You probably need more offensive line help, and you probably need a quarterback. All right? Names out there. Old veterans. Matt Ryan, he probably going to be gone. David Carr, they still don't like Carr. I like him. Like, you got to figure out, like, you know what? Do I pay you or do I go and find somebody who can actually run this offense? Because if I get the right pieces, you got Mooney fast. You got Miller who can run. You got different guys you can bring in. And if you can devise a scheme around all of that speed, which Andy Reid is doing, which I'm assuming that you were trying to do as well, you find out Robinson is really good. He has one-on-one coverage. He makes some tough catches. And that's probably the problem with Nagy's offense is like it's not creative enough to have people open. Like, why does he have to struggle every week and just go up and fight for catch balls and trap? You know what I mean? So I like him. I think he deserves the money. But again, I wouldn't pay you because, again, you're a receiver and I need somebody to actually throw the ball to you. So we got to go find that first. Or when offensive linemen get healthy, that whole did because when the line was getting paid, they were playing really good. Now it's kind of like, So I wouldn't, I wouldn't. But again, he deserves it. I like him, but I wouldn't pay you.
I'm paying him, man. I'm paying him. I'm drafting the quarterback in the first round. I might even trade up for a quarterback if the guy like.
You trade up for a quarterback, all right? Let's do this.
I would. I would.
Up for one before, okay?
I would.
A quarterback. Like, what happens then, though?
Well, in my honest opinion, if they're I think they're going for a quarterback no matter
what. Quarterback, you know what? Take that. Which quarterback do you want?
If I had my choice out of the guys out there, I like Justin Fields from Ohio State. Okay. Now, I know people are crowning Trevor Lawrence as the number one quarterback. He's the next big thing. He's the best quarterback prospect since Andrew Luck. And all right, I might buy into that, but I like Justin Fields and the added element that he brings on in terms of how he's such an athlete, able to run the ball if needed. He could kind of be now not nearly as shifty as a Kyler Murray or but kind of that Russell Wilson mold where if nothing's there, watch out. He can make plays with his feet, but don't underestimate his arm strength, his accuracy. I think I'm rattling off these things, and I just didn't really see it with Mitchell Trubisky coming out of North Carolina. You've seen it with Deshaun Watson, who was a proven winner, national championship winner, beat, the NFL's 33rd team in Alabama in the national championship game. That was all there. Ryan Pace wanted to be the smartest guy in the building and go for the non-conventional route, the unproven guy in Mitchell Trubisky. We've seen where that's gotten him. Again, Trevor Lawrence, I'm not going to hate on him. Sure, he might be the next big thing, might be the next great thing, but where the NFL is right now, I'd like my chances with Justin Fields.
Oh, okay. All right. But again, right, my thing is, I think it's safer. And to me, it seems to be proven that going with an older quarterback, even though you might not get as many years, is more beneficial, especially when your team is like older and ready to like win. This team is ready to win. Now, again, if you go and get a quarterback, I'm just saying you may struggle for another 4 years. And then who's going to coach them? Not this guy.
He won't even last here.
So it's like, that's why I think it's just so important to have that franchise quarterback and trying to figure out. And that's why I say, you know what? Go ahead and get Trubisky a shot. You know what? He may just step up and prove something to you. And then, you know what? You ain't got to have a quarterback. You already got one.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know about that.
But again, is it going to be Nick Foles?
No, absolutely not.
No, it's not. So again, you know what? Hey, man, we drafted you. And I know we done gave up on you. You know what? He ain't doing no better. So, man, listen here. Just show us something. Because, again, if we had to draft another quarterback, oh, my word.
I will say, though, recently that recipe hasn't been such a disaster where a quarterback under his rookie deal has been able to go and lead his team to a Super Bowl because when you got a quarterback on the rookie deal, you can spend money elsewhere. Look at what the Chiefs did last year. Now, with that said, Patrick Mahomes, great quarterback, future Hall of Fame quarterback. So that you could kind of push aside. But the Rams
quarterbacks are looking good. Tua looks fine. Murray looks awesome. He just looked awesome, man. I don't know. They always in the shootout, which I appreciate.
Herbert from the Chargers. I mean,
Herbert looks all right. Burrow is slinging the appeal. But again, there's the whole square hole round peg deal. Like, can you fit me into your offense? Or you allowing my skills to reign through? Or you saying that, no, it's my offense and you have to fit into my offense, what Nagy is doing. Like, change it up.
Right.
Let it fit the people that you have. So that's why you play Trubisky is more runs up. Now I know your shoulder hurt, whatever, you'll be fine. You'll be all right. So again, if you draft a guy or you drafting them to fit into your system, it just doesn't. It's proven now. If I'm drafting a guy, I need to switch up. If I draft Lamar Jackson, I drafted Lamar Jackson. So therefore, I need to go get some tight ends. I need to do some different stuff until he develops everything that I need him to develop. And even if he don't, I'm gonna use the skills that he has. It's just smart. It's just smart football, and we gotta be smart about that.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And week after week, you always hear Matt Nagy. I know what I need to do. We're going to go back and we're going to make the adjustments. I know I need to run the ball more. And you see the same crap week after week. Maybe he'll get it figured out this week against the Minnesota Vikings. We'll see. Should be an interesting game nonetheless, a divisional game. As you said, DJ, I think it was the last 2 years the Bears have beaten the Minnesota Vikings. So we'll see if they can get their fifth win in a row against the NFC North opponent. And if that's the case, they'll go to 6-4 heading into the bye week. If they lose, they drop to 5-5 heading into the bye week, and it'll be chaos on Chicago airwaves throughout that bye week. You can follow me on Twitter at Chris Shanafel. You can follow DJ at DJMore30. DJ, any final words before we end the show?
Not really, man. Hopefully he can get the excitement back. See more club dubs, and he had a lot of excitement building around him. But again, I remember you talked about them losing the locker room. So hey, man, figure it out.
Yeah, and course, the last game that was played in Soldier Field was against the New Orleans Saints, and they had their own version of Club Dub in Chicago. So hopefully that doesn't happen with the Minnesota Vikings. We'll see. I mean, it's bad when even Sean Payton and Drew Brees are getting on camera dancing around in the locker room. So hopefully that doesn't happen with Kirk Cousins and Mike Zimmer. I mean, that'll be a crushing blow heading into the bye week. But DJ, as always, appreciate you taking the time. A lot of fun chatting. Again, follow him on Twitter at DJMore30. Are you active on Twitter, DJ? Do you do the Earl Bennett website anymore?
Well, I wrote the story, and then my principal called me into the office. Was like on a serious note, like you gotta tell him to delete that. It was something about a strip club or something. I'm like, well, I mean, it's just like where I was at then. You know what I mean? Like, right. You don't expect the kids to be. I mean, to expect you was perfect or whatever. But, So yeah, that was about it. On that one, I said, "Oh, okay." Well.
All righty then. Okay. Well, we'll end the show on that note. Don't want to get DJ in any more trouble. Don't need to send him to the principal's office anymore. DJ, appreciate your time as always. Hope everybody enjoyed the show. Hopefully, next time we're talking, the Bears are 6-4, not 5-5. Anyways,